Hello, I'm Ashok Khosla, and this is The Green Show. There are many issues of a global nature which mankind must now increasingly deal with. Saving the ozone shield that protects us from the sun's ultraviolet rays is one such issue. Avoiding the rise in global temperature that results from man-made gases released into the atmosphere is another. More important, perhaps, is the fact that the causes of environmental problems also include many economic concerns, particularly the stark imbalances that exist in the international economy. These are certainly problems that all nations will have to face soon. But many of our local environmental problems are even more immediate. Whoever might be responsible for them, we will ultimately have to ensure that they are solved, if necessary, on our own. Each week, The Green Show brings you news and views on how the business sector can play its part in this millennial effort.
In this episode of The Green Show, we have Polluters Pay, a report on closure of industry in Gujarat. Green refrigerators, a close look at the eco-friendly non-CFC compressors. Retrieve garbage, some tips on efficient disposal of garbage.
More and more industry need not mean more and more pollution. However, Gujarat, which has reached new heights of industrialization, now appears to be headed for new depths of environmental degradation. The aggressive disregard of environmental norms is now clearly evident in many of the state's industrial pockets. Solid wastes and industrial effluents have been dumped wherever convenient with impunity. But recently, irresponsible industrialists were made to sit up and take notice when several plants were hauled up for polluting the environment and closed by the court. We bring you an exclusive report from Gujarat.
What at first glance may appear to be an artist's canvas is actually a part of the landscape at Ahmedabad's Vatva industrial estate. Sites like these are quite common in and around the various industrial areas situated in Gujarat. The state, one of the most developed and industrialized in the country, also happens to be one of the most polluted. Pick any industrial center in Gujarat, be it Vatva, Vapi, Ankaleshwar, Naroda or Nandeshwari. What meets the eye is an environment degraded and polluted by the effluence of the industries operating in the area. The pattern of industrial development in Gujarat has had a direct impact on genesis of the problem.
The development of industries in Gujarat has been mainly in chemical sector right from its bifurcation from Maharashtra. The chemical industries development in Gujarat, if you look to the investment angle, more than 70% of the investment is coming in the chemical industries. Gujarat has been leading in the manufacture of soda ash, caustic soda, dyes and intermediates, drugs and pharmaceuticals, fine chemicals, and similar number of other chemical industries and chemical products. The chemical industries, along with whatever the natural resources are available, they have a highly pollution potential nature. And that's why, in spite of having one of the leading industrial estates in the country, the degree of pollution, the level of pollution is fairly high so far as the Gujarat is concerned.
The flagrant violation of laws governing the handling and disposal of hazardous wastes by the industrial units in Gujarat Bharati.
Vapi is a very old estate, one of the oldest estates of our Gujarat Industrial Development Corporation. It was established in 1966, and there are all mixed type of industries: paper mills, chemical industries, dyes and intermediates, pharmaceuticals, and certain other non-polluting industries also, for example, engineering industries. Of late, before about a month and a half, probably in the month of March, there was a public interest litigation about the Vapi pollution. So the High Court ordered immediate closure of these 68 units because they were in the polluting list. And now the case is going on, and High Court have asked the state government and the industries to give up a formula that within a specified time frame, the pollution will be checked.
The situation in the rest of the state is more or less the same. Industries in Gujarat have generally avoided taking any significant As a result, they are not aware of the threat they face every day. Effluent-rich streams indicate that effluent treatment takes place only on paper. Treatment anyway is only a part of the overall process of pollution control.
The major cost is on the collection, conveyance and disposal. The cost on ETP or central ETP or common ETP is hardly 10% of the total cost of the infrastructure facilities that you need for final disposal of the effluents. So it is not the ETP which is creating a much more problem, it is the other infrastructure which you need it. ETP is, as I said, is a small part of the overall systems.
Any holistic approach towards reversing the degradation must, however, begin with the implementation of the existing laws.
The acts have been formulated as back as 1976. There has been a consciousness amongst the policy makers since that period. Implementation of the act is being done by the various pollution control boards. Only thing is that there are limited resources for the pollution control boards. We don't have enough staff to check. The staff should be commensurate with the industrial development.
Things obviously cannot go on as they are. The general increase in awareness of environmental issues is a welcome sign. But it must be realized that awareness is not a solution in itself. The introduction and enforcement of legislations is an obligation of the government, but industry needs to establish its own codes of practice in advance of these legislations. Many industries and businesses in India have realized that and have begun adopting the appropriate policies. Those who are lagging behind must realize that anticipatory and preventive measures are more effective and less costly in the long run than mere end of the pipe controls.
Most people know that the ozone shield in the upper atmosphere protects us from skin cancer and other hazards to our ecosystems. In 1987, the Montreal Protocol was signed by nations to eliminate the production and consumption of substances like chlorofluorocarbons that destroy this shield. Developing countries like India were given until the year 2010 to phase out the use of ozone-depleting substances. But some far-sighted Indian companies, seeing commercial opportunities, have taken the bull by the horns. They have decided to use alternative technologies to short-circuit the process to their advantage. One business group has adopted a new, safer chemical, R134A, as the working medium for the compressors in its refrigerators and air conditioners. We take you to their factory in Pune to see how such innovation is good for both business and the environment.
20,000 meters above us in the sky lies a protective blanket, a layer of ozone that filters out harmful ultraviolet radiations present in sun rays. But in the pursuit of greater comfort, the modern world has unknowingly punctured the blanket, thereby opening up the gates for health hazards arising out of exposure to ultraviolet radiations. The damage has been caused mainly by a group of chemicals called chlorofluorocarbons used in refrigerants, foam blowers and aerosols. In India, CFC use is concentrated mainly in the air conditioning and refrigeration sector, followed by halons and foams, solvents and aerosols. Under the terms of the Montreal Protocol, India has till 2010 to phase out the use of ozone-depleting substances. That may seem a long way off, but many companies have already begun work on the use of alternatives to CFCs in the area of air conditioning and refrigeration.
Well, from my visits here, this is the second visit to India I've made in the last 2 years. I've been very impressed with the awareness of certain sectors within the industry of the requirements of the Montreal Protocol. And many of those sectors are actively reviewing exactly what the Montreal Protocol means to them and what it means in terms of the types of refrigerants that they've got to use. And many of these sectors now are doing a lot of research into the changes required within their own equipment and overall machine designs.
One of the ozone-friendly options available for application in the air conditioning and refrigeration industry is R134A, a hydrofluorocarbon with zero ozone-depleting potential. Kirloskar Pneumatics, one of the pioneers in the field of air conditioning and refrigeration in India, have begun the process of testing the potentialities of this safer alternative and preparing themselves for 2010.
We have already started our work about a year back. First thing is that we are getting acquainted with the new types of refrigerants by contacting manufacturers of the refrigerants, arranging their lectures at our works. Then we have sort of a collaboration with an eminent laboratory like National Chemical Laboratory for using the new types of refrigerants on our products. We have planned extensive research work with the National Chemical Laboratory for uses of this R134A.
The National Chemical Laboratory also helps Kirloskar Pneumatics organize seminars and lectures on the issues of transition to ozone-friendly refrigerants. The interactive sessions help the managers at Kirloskar factories come to grips with the various logistics involved in the shift to R134A.
The problem with the CFC is that CFC means chlorofluorocarbon. Chlorofluorocarbons, when they are released from any refrigeration air conditioning unit, they tend to migrate to the stratosphere, and where they get disintegrated and chlorine atom comes out, it reacts with ozone, and typically each molecule of CFC can lead to destruction of something like 100,000 molecules of ozone. The option is to use fluids which do not contain chlorine or bromine. In air conditioning and refrigeration, we are trying to use, in place of CFC12, HFC134A. HFC134A is basically a hydrofluorocarbon. It contains no chlorine, therefore it has zero ODP, and it is considered as an environment-friendly fluid. As you know, already there are companies who have floated HFC134A based systems, so that you could buy probably in another few years' time a refrigerator based on 134A in India.
Kirloskar Copeland, a company of the Kirloskar Group, has already come out with a hermetic compressor that uses R134A. At Kirloskar Pneumatics, R134A has already been put to use in open-type compressors. They are currently carrying out various tests with the R134A under simulated conditions. They have already implemented some changes in the product line to make their compressors suitable for its new refrigerants. In some areas, they have first made a switch to transitional compounds like R22 since they have a longer phase-out schedule. Industry members say that it will take a long time before R134A becomes a widely used refrigerant in the country. Compressors have to be specially designed for R134A to obtain efficiencies comparable with existing CFC12 compressors. Further, because of the nature of R134A, special lubricating oils have to be used and extreme care and sophisticated facilities are required for their handling. The upgraded manufacturing and assembly facilities, the modern oils and the stringent quality control measures all combine to boost the cost of compressors based on R134A.
This is a fact that these refrigerants are very expensive today as compared to the refrigerants used in the country. But government is giving some sort of benefits, like they have reduced the excise duty this year on these refrigerants. One thing remains, that if you want a better environment, you will have to pay a better price for it.
That is a fact industry members have to understand and accept. As we move towards globalization and greater integration with the world economy, Indian industry has to anticipate future changes and accept challenges as opportunities. In the area of CFC phase-out, however, Indian industry is still lagging behind. Of the 6,300 crore rupees allocated to it under the Montreal Trust Fund to underwrite the costs of transition, only 36 crore rupees have been drawn so far. A Kirloskar here and there won't make much difference to the overall picture. What is required is a concerted effort towards the search for safer alternatives to CFCs by all members of the user industries. It is now or never.
Every time we pass by a garbage tip, it is only natural that we should stop breathing and close our noses. But what about the people who live close by and the rag pickers who sort out the rubbish there? Only the completely blind can ignore the desperate misery of the people who, day by day, have to live and breathe the filth of our cities. One way we can help is when we get home. We can do our bit to separate the different kinds of wastes to ensure that those items that can be reused or recycled get into different streams than those which must be buried under the ground. Here are ways by which you can help.
Come to any city in our country. A streetscape that will invariably greet you is that of mounds of rotting waste lying uncleared by the roadside. The ugly sight and the unbearable stench usually makes us cover our nose and run for cleaner pastures. But do we, in our hurry to avoid the garbage dump, ever realize the worth of the nauseating heap? Do we know that the stinking pile is a virtual gold mine that can reap a rich harvest if it is carefully sorted out and then recycled for reuse? Garbage, we must acknowledge, is not just an eyesore or a health hazard, but something that can be put to use for the conservation of energy. Our garbage consists mainly of biodegradable organic waste disposed from households, but a closer inspection will reveal that there is a variety of inorganic matter lying in the heap: cardboard boxes for consumer items, plastic bags thrown out by domestic users, aluminium foils used by restaurants and fast food parlors, packing materials dispensed with by shopkeepers, reams of paper swept away from offices and banks, scraps of glass, rubber and iron discarded by commercial establishments. Disposable items rejected by hospitals and nursing homes and a host of other waste products constitute a bulk of the garbage that is not biodegradable. The task of segregating the non-degradable inorganic rubbish from the organic waste is normally left to the poor rag pickers. Their work does not have much value for us, and we are hardly aware of the important social function these men, women and children carry out while scrounging the mounds of filth and rubbish. Yet it is they who dig out the tons of waste that can be recycled and substituted for virgin material. By retrieving the reusable items, they therefore help save valuable resources and conserve energy. We cannot deny that we ourselves are solely responsible for the huge mass of inorganic garbage accumulating on the roads every day. Our consumer habits have ensured this to a great extent. The clamor for trendy living and unproductive use of resources have only increased the volume of non-degradable garbage. The faster we rush towards a consumerist paradise, the more we contribute to the problem of waste disposal. There are a few things we can do to lighten the burden of wastes. For instance, We can make greeting cards and gift packs from already used cards, wrapping papers and sweet wrappers. We can convert plastic cups and containers into vases, pen stands or pin trays. We can write on both sides of a page or convert unused sheets of paper into notebooks. These will go a long way in saving our resources and in conserving energy. More importantly, we can contribute to recycling by taking on the rat picker's job of segregating the garbage ourselves. Before dumping them indiscriminately on the roadside, we can separate the inorganic waste, gathering in huge quantities in the shops, offices, restaurants, banks and hospitals every day. We can sort out cardboards, plastic, paper, foils, rubber, glass, leather, chemicals and so on item by item and put them into separate packets before disposal. This will make the rat picker's job simpler and expose them less to health hazards. Our cities will be cleaner, and by aiding the process of recycling, we can reduce the pressure on our depleting resources.
Neither the problems of poverty nor those of pollution can be removed either by unthinkingly accepting one type of development as the only correct one or blindly rejecting another. In a country as diverse as India, with people and resources whose characteristics span a range that is almost global, no single type of solution can be enough. Our needs will require solutions that are both big and small, public and private, and combine the modern with the traditional. Corporations have great power in determining the directions our future takes. Through the choice of products they manufacture, the production technologies they employ, and the marketing strategies they use, they have vast impact on both the environment and development. With such power comes responsibility. It is our job on The Green Show to help business executives fulfill this responsibility.